Welcome to Artist Exploration with Second Seven. My name's Drew Hart, and I'm joined here today with incredible artist James Bousema. How are you, James?
I'm doing great.
Good, dude. This is your first MagicCon?
No, second.
Second, yeah.
But the first one was last year in October here in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And now we're back here in June.
Dude, yeah. Thank goodness. Yeah. What I thought about last Vegas was that it needed to be hotter.
Yeah, no, it's a little rough today. But, we're kind of used to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think anybody attending a Magic convention is assuming things are going to get sweaty.
Right.
At a certain point.
It's a sweaty place.
Yeah.
Fair. So, hey, listen, man, your style is so cool. It's so heavy metal, like, just through and through. Like, do you ever find yourself continually making things that are so heavy metal and so cool, and like you're just like, man, I just wish I could do a princess every now and again?
No. I mean, mainly because I think artists all have their strengths and weaknesses.
For sure.
Man, like drawing a soft, featured pretty lady is
Yep.
really hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's way harder than it looks, especially as somebody, because it's way easier to make like a nasty looking goblin
Yeah.
and just give them all the wrinkles and the blemishes and everything. But like a pretty princess has to be very soft, delicate, if that's what you're going for.
Yeah. That's fair.
And
that
it's
makes
very easy to make it not look right because it's usually it's all about like, it has to be perfect.
Yeah.
It has to be soft.
Yeah.
So I deal with a lot of like hard-edged
So
stuff.
you love the hard-edged, gross goblins.
Yeah. So I mean, granted, like I have worked on a couple things where it requires like, you've got a female protagonist or whatever, and I've been able to do it, but that's just through years and years of not being very good at it,
That's
and then
fair.
eventually not messing it up a couple times. So, I mean, nobody gets to see the sketch process, but
Fair, yeah.
the sketch process is
That's
full
just-
of terrible versions.
I was gonna say that just lives with you in your hall of shame.
Yeah, you just don't show it. You show people the final version,
Yeah.
and they think like, oh, that's exactly what he intended the first time.
That was it. That was his first go.
Yeah.
That's funny, man. Well, I really like your artist proof signature looks like this too. It's that very classic heavy metal. What is that script called? Is there a definition for that?
My signature has always kind of like, it initially started out maybe when I was in middle school. It almost looked like the bat signal.
Oh yeah.
'Cause it sort of has the shapes of, with the B and the A wrapping around like wings.
That's totally true. I
But
didn't
it
notice
slowly over time more morphed into kind of like a death metal logo.
Yeah.
Like specifically bands like Amorphous or I think Sinister. Like both of those have bands. If you look them up, especially Amorphous's old logo.
Yeah.
They both have like the curvature and the structure that I like to base my signature and logo off of.
That's really cool.
So it's coming from a fan place.
That's really awesome. For me, like I grew up listening to a lot of Whitechapel, Winds of Plague, and they have their emblems are very similar.
Yeah.
Where it's like,
I bet like Winds of Plague probably listened to some old school Amorphous when
100%.
they were growing up.
yeah.
Because a lot of those kind of like, I guess, more metalcore, deathcore bands usually are like came up in a time when like bands like At the Gates or just like the Swedish bands were real big.
Yeah. 100%.
And then incorporated like early 2000s like hardcore elements in it.
Yeah.
But like, it all comes from somewhere,
Of course.
and I'm just trying to like show my influence while still like being me.
And it's very cool. It comes through really nicely, and I think you really stand out.
Thanks, I
think
appreciate
it's very cool. Speaking of which, I also want to talk about the Venn diagram that exists between Magic players and metalheads. It's like almost a circle.
Yeah.
It's wild.
I mean, I may be biased, but like a good like 75% of the people who come to my booth at a MagicCon are like sweaty bearded dudes in metal shirts, and I love it. And usually like
we're
they're
here for the sweaty bearded dudes.
And usually like they're goth girlfriends or something.
Yeah.
And I I
Well,
just
what do you
say
what, with your non-goth girlfriend?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
crazy.
I know it.
I'm
Like
bringing the goth one out.
I think it's very much it's same with Dungeons and Dragons,
100%.
where a lot of the more, I guess, in the old days you'd call it geek, nerd, or whatever, but nowadays it's just like so popular culture. Like who really cares?
It's not even counterculture.
Yeah, no, it's just like people really like this and it's cool.
Yeah.
So I think it's just because, I mean, one, like metal bands tend to like sing about stuff that's usually like depicted in stuff like Dungeons and Dragons and Magic.
Yep.
Whether it be like wars, bloodshed, and even just standard sword and sorcery stuff. So like, of course, there's going to be a lot of crossover. Like whether it's like full-on cheesy dwarf metal stuff, or even just Black Sabbath. Yeah. They've still got plenty of songs that totally fit this world.
100%. Yeah, you could really plug Black Sabbath in anywhere.
Yeah.
So being a little newer to Magic's roster, having more recent work, is there a card that you would love to do? Is there a card that you see out there and you're like, man, I wish I hope someday I get a reprint of that card or something?
You mean the one that I wish I could do or wish I could have?
Let's start with do and then move to have.
I mean, it's hard to say specifically, but I think every artist wants a card that becomes like the meta. Yeah. That's players just reliable. Yeah. Which is why I'm kind of glad I got in the Tarkir set the Skirmish Rhino, because it's very much like a successor to Siege Rhino, which was very popular.
100%.
Very much a commonly used card.
Yeah, a lot of Vorthos behind that.
Yeah, so like I appreciate stuff like that where, Magic makes so many cards, and you're not always going to get something that's like great. Yeah. Even if your art is awesome, it doesn't mean that people will actually
doesn't mean the card's going to be awesome.
It. Yeah. So like, which is great, like doing these sorts of Art of Magic convention setups where like you could show off your awesome art and people maybe don't even care the card art that it's associated with. Yeah. They just think it rocks. Yep. Or they like your other cards, so they get it.
I've definitely bought cards for both of those reasons.
Yeah.
In which I go, wow, this is not a good card. I don't play this card, but wow, this is just such a beautiful artwork.
Yeah. That's what I'm going to do once I'm able to venture out this weekend. I'm just going to look for the coolest looking art.
Well, that's cool. I hope you find the time to do that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So browsing through your portfolio, I came across an image of Medusa that you've done. I thought that this was really striking, really cool. She's shrieking. It's very awesome. Now, in her hair, you depicted several different breeds of snakes, which is a very unusual choice for a depiction of Medusa. How much research went into depicting those accurately, out of curiosity?
Well, I mean, it doesn't take much more than a standard Google search. Different types of snakes. And then I just, I knew I wanted... I think conceptually, I just wanted to. I liked the idea of Medusa not just having like one kind of snake in her hair. That cool. She was even potentially scarier because she had all sorts of different ones. So, I made sure to look up my favorites. So it would be like different vipers, anaconda.
Yeah, pick the best of the very venomous
black
snakes.
mambas, all that, and then of course a cobra.
Yeah.
So all the cool ones.
It was really cool.
Yeah. So I mean, that's an old piece at this point, but it's one of those where I think as artists, like we get sick of our stuff like really quickly. Yeah. So there's stuff from a decade ago that we all like probably cringe at now.
For sure.
But that's one of my older pieces that I actually still really like.
I really like that piece.
So I'm glad you do
too. I'm a big Medusa fan. You did some work with Metallica kind of recently, right?
Yeah. I mean, I did their last years, whenever 72 Seasons came out, I did the tour poster, the North American tour poster for them.
That's crazy cool.
Yeah.
Was that like a highlight of your life, or was that just a Tuesday for James Bousema?
Oh, that was absolutely one of those like career affirming moments. Like when I got that DM from the company that does the posters for them. Yeah, Mr. Metallica. It was very much like, hey, we think you're going to say yes to this. But we just wanted to make sure your schedule's open.
What a way to start an email.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, it really depends on what it is.
Yeah.
And then they just sent me a GIF of Ride the Lightning. And I just about like shit my pants.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, yes, okay, sure. Yeah, I put everything aside
Hell yeah.
to do that poster.
That's
it took a couple weeks because it's a screen print, and I'm not as used to that process.
Yeah.
It's very particular, like layering all those colors and making it work so that the screen printer doesn't have a hard time printing it.
Yeah. I wouldn't even know where to begin with that.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But it was definitely one of those pinch me, I'm dreaming type things.
Yeah.
So who knows if I ever do work for them again?
Dude, how could you not?
I would love to.
That's so cool.
But like that's a case where like, say tomorrow this all goes belly up.
Yeah.
I can look back at that and be like, hey, like I grew up loving that band. Their songs helped me play guitar. They got me into heavy music.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of teenagers get into Metallica, then they slowly get heavier and heavier and heavier with their tastes.
Yeah, that was about my path.
Yeah,
too.
So they're a great entry point.
Yeah. Because you're like, okay, cool, yeah, rad. This is like heavy metal, and then you just get heavier and heavier, and you're. Like, man,
it was.
They were swearing more.
It was Metallica, Slayer, and then it started to go, like, okay, give me some grindcore, give me some death metal.
Yeah.
And then like it'd be, bands like Nile and stuff, but definitely the big domino was Metallica.
Yeah, that's so cool.
I'm forever thankful for that opportunity.
So in perusing the cards you've done, you did the artwork for Griselbrand here, which is so cool, so killer.
Yeah.
But in looking at it, this guy down here, this Denizen, caught my eye.
Yeah.
I didn't know if Wojak here was on a mood board for you.
It's funny, like I didn't even think of
wild.
that, but it's one of those things that it's not even, you're not even thinking about it, but it might be like just
almost like a subconscious.
Subconscious
you want
thing.
That shape. Of
yeah. Because I knew that like I wanted a guy pointing at him, just to like give some different things for the crowd to do.
Yeah.
And I needed a guy in the foreground to somewhat be interacting and not just like looking at the audience awkwardly.
Yeah.
But after the fact, I think I saw somebody meme it online.
And
it's pretty spot on.
I was like,
because it is the foreshortening of it and everything.
It, like I was just swiping back and forth, and I was like, it's so close.
Yeah, no.
Like it's mirrored for sure, But I was like, dang.
Yeah, no,
that's funny, dude.
Not intentional at all.
I was curious if it was just an Easter egg.
I love that is on a card like Griselbrand, like this silly thing.
Yeah.
So I take no credit, but I also take all the credit.
It's very cool. This is an audience question. I had published ahead of time that I was interviewing people. What should I ask them? And the question that we've given to you is, what's your least favorite card art you've done, and why?
Oh, that's not.
You do not need to answer this.
Yeah. My least favorite, I would say, is probably... So my first group of cards was on the Nuclear Fallout set.
Yeah.
Which I was very happy to do, and it was very much like a foot in the door type thing.
Yeah. And what a big foot through the door. That's so awesome.
It was great. It was, and I loved the opportunity. But, like, I remember having a hard time with Inexorable Tide, because it's a very landscape-heavy piece.
Yeah.
And that's not my skill set.
Yeah.
I'm usually more of a character guy.
Yeah.
I like a lot in the foreground and then putting a lot of detail in that. When it comes to landscapes, I'll do them, but I was maybe at that point a lot less confident in it. I probably would be more confident in it now,
totally
especially since I've done a bunch of cards since then.
But it does definitely stand out in your looking through the cards. Inexorable Tide?
Inexorable.
Oh my
God,
God,
I know.
almost.
It's a weird word. Yeah.
Looking at that card, it does stand out against your others. So that's interesting.
Well, I'm glad they let me put a Death Claw in the middle ground. So it gave me like a cool monster in there.
That's cool.
It was, I think it looks cool with the foil treatments that I think they gave it.
The surge foiling in that set was exceptional.
Yeah, so like it's not that I hate that card or anything.
Yeah.
It's just one that I remember having a lot of trouble with.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think I also at the time was like really overloaded with work.
Yeah.
And I already had a lot on my plate, but I knew that like I had to do these pieces to get my foot in the door.
Yep.
So I remember being very tired.
Yeah,
when
that's
doing
fair.
when doing those pieces. But I had a lot more confidence in the Nuclear Fallout piece and the
I love that Nuclear
the
Fallout one.
Bloodforged Battle Axe piece. Those
Yeah.
are very much my wheelhouse.
That's cool.
So, I mean, I don't hate the piece, but it was outside of my comfort zone at the time.
Fair.
I don't hate it though.
All right, James. Thank you. That's all the questions we have for you today. Anything you wanna pitch? Anything you got going on?
Yeah, I mean, here at MagicCon Vegas, I've got a bunch new token designs that correlate directly with Magic the Gathering. I'm really proud of those.
They are stellar.
They're all very like retro dark fantasy
Yeah.
looking, very much up my alley. Then I just launched a merch line with all my own original designs. Go to jamesbousema.com to see my portfolio, my store, all that sort of stuff if you want to check out my work.
Please check out his website. It's fantastic stuff. It's really, really clean work. This has been Artist Exploration with Second 7. Thank you so much. Please be sure to like, follow, and subscribe.